Now, let's come now to Tyrone Huggins, an actor with an impressive track record, which has included extensive work on stage, in films, and appearances on many TV programmes, including EastEnders, Coronation Street, and Emmerdale, a notable hat-trick, and The Archers, I think, as well. So
yes, it was Emmerdale when it was Emmerdale Farm.
Oh, right.
The good old days.
Yeah. That was a better title, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
But he's also a playwright, and his latest production brings together these two strings. It's a touring production of his play, The Honeyman, a two-hander, which features Misty, a teenage girl, privileged but troubled daughter of a stately home, and the Honeyman, an older man from the West Indies who's made his home in an empty cottage on the estate. Well, I can see which part you should be playing, but you wrote it. Did you write it for yourself, or did you just get lucky in the audition?
No, I got lucky, in fact. Yes, on the first day of rehearsals, the original production, which was back in 2012, the actor who was due to play the part didn't turn up. He'd fallen ill. And it was a case of either we go and recast it, we only had a 3-week rehearsal period, or I stepped into the role. Yeah. So I stepped into the role, there was still some rewrites to be done, and managed to get those done in the first week, and then it was on to learning the lines.
Yeah.
And learning the character and playing it.
Well, how is it, though, playing a play you've written yourself? Is it a bit distracting because you're always thinking about, when you wrote the line and when you changed it and whether it should be improved, which, as an actor, you don't normally do. You just say, these are my lines, I learn them and do my best with them.
Yes, well, strangely enough, I think you do as an actor, especially with new plays, because you're aware that it's not, they don't come fully formed, that actually the input of playing the part gives you an idea of where things are working and where things are not. And so on that occasion, once I'd got over the writing, I kind of mentally switched my brain off as a writer and then relied upon the director to decide whether it was working or not.
Yeah.
If she suggested we needed cuts, I kind of looked at them, and if I agreed, I'd say, yeah.
Well, we better not go too far into the plot, but in the play, your character has made his home, sort of squatting, really, in a cottage on the estate, where you've got your bees, and you're creating various types of honey in a sort of herbalistic, back-to-nature kind of way. So there are worries about the future of bees, which you touch upon. Is that a worry of yours personally?
No, not directly, but what this is part of was a collection of work I was looking at, which was actually steered by how the digital world is influencing with the way we live now, and that brought me into the whole area of looking at how does the old world compare with the new? Is there a constant tension? And the constant tension I came up with was that it's the duty of the young to drag the old kicking and screaming into the future, but it's the responsibility of the old to place a restraining hand on the shoulder of the young. And that tension started to manifest itself with looking at the world of bees when I started to explore what was happening in the nature of the bee colony collapse and those other things we hear about. I started to see that there was maybe something more than just chemistry going on here. Maybe there was morality behind it. There was sort of social mores to be looked at. And so, and also by placing the bees at the centre of a play, you open a whole philosophical and social world that is quite incredible.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say. I mean, they feature in the play. I mean, you're stung by them and everything dramatically. But I wouldn't say it was the central, because I suppose the central consideration is you've got this young girl. She's a bit troubled. She's gone there to have to smoke a joint, and you're the wise old head saying, "Oh, you're poisoning yourself with that kind of stuff," which was an interesting way round to have it, I suppose.
Yeah, it was, and that came about really when looking at the play was originally written and produced to go to rural environments, and what I started to notice about the young people I was meeting in those environments was they had exactly the same aspirations and ideals as urban kids. Right at the heart of it as well, though, is the background, the colonial background that Misty is part of.
And you're taking this round on a tour to sort of smaller venues, different venues all around the country.
Yes, well, on this occasion, I managed to work with a creative collaborator, Judy Owen, who's producing it, and we've been taking it to more urban theatres on a small-scale tour, just to see if it has the same effect for an urban audience as it had on a more rural audience.
Yes. Now, I noticed your degree at Leeds University was in metallurgy. So how did you make the transfer from metallurgy, a noble profession in itself, to the crazy world of being an actor?
Well, it was actually the other way around. I decided I wanted to be an actor as a 9-year-old. I think being named after Tyrone Power kind of gave me a sort of, a look at film acting.
It's a great name, Tyrone,
yes.
for a performer.
And then when I started at school, I happened to go to a school where the teacher did 3 plays a year, and so from 11 till 18 I did 3 shows a year. And then when I was coming to think about education or further education, I looked at drama school, and there was a friend of mine who'd been, and I thought something had happened to him. I was a Midlands boy, and he'd come down to the south and had changed, and I decided I didn't want to go to drama school. I thought also to satisfy my parents, if I went up and studied something that looked like it would provide me with an income. Also, I'd learned to weld with my dad. He worked at the Longbridge car factory in Birmingham.
Right.
And so when I was looking around at what I could do, metallurgy came up as a subject that sort of fitted a good bill.
So that was like a career, a job that could last, building cars in the Midlands.
And
that
then
was,
once I
was
got
a reliable career. Whereas acting...
Well, exactly. And then once I got to university, I met with other people, English students, art students, fine art students, and actually we created our own company and started creating our own work. And being a practical person, it meant I could build sets and do lighting stuff.
You can do everything then, because you can act in it, you can write it, you can build the set. You're on a variety of boards as well. You're all sort of an arts administrator and dealing with grants and things like that.
That's right, and that was to do with being interested in what the effect or the relationship between the board structure and organisational structure is, between that relationship and when I step out onto stage and meet an audience, that there is a connection. And I was interested in finding out what it was.
Well, you're a one-man arts council, and one man. I think though there are 2 of you in this. Anyway, the Honeyman is at the Old Town Hall, Hemel Hempstead, on Tuesday the 17th. Bernie Grant Arts Centre in London. I suppose that's in Tottenham on Wednesday the 18th, and Carriage Works Theatre, Leeds, on Thursday the 19th of March. Lovely to see you, Tyrone Huggins. I'll hand over to Scotty now.
Oh, it's me.